My name's Lena, and for most of my life, I believed loyalty was everything. I trusted too easily, loved too deeply, and forgave too quickly. That was my biggest mistake. For 5 years, I was with Ethan, the man I thought I'd marry. We met in college, back when he was still struggling to find his direction, and I was the dreamer with a notebook full of business ideas. He said I made him believe in himself again. I believed him. And then there was Clara, my best friend since childhood. The one who knew every detail of my life. My fears, my secrets, my plans. She stood by me when my mom passed, helped me study for finals, and was even the one who introduced Ethan to my parents. She was family to me. So, when I started working late nights building my fashion brand from scratch, I didn't think twice about leaving Ethan and Clara together sometimes. They'd grab coffee, help pack orders, even run errands for me. I thought, wow, I'm lucky. My best friend and my fiancé get along so well. Until one rainy evening, I came home earlier than usual. The lights were dim. The music was low. And then, laughter. Ethan's voice. Clara's giggle. Coming from the bedroom. At first, I froze. My mind refused to believe it. But when I pushed the door open, there they were. In my bed. My fiancé and my best friend. Their faces turned pale, but mine burned with a kind of fire I'd never felt before. Clara whispered, "Lena, it's not what it looks like." But I laughed. A cold, broken kind of laugh. "Really? Then tell me, Clara, what does it look like to you?" Ethan tried to grab my hand. "Lena, please, let's talk." I stepped back. "Talk? You already said enough." That night, I walked out with nothing but my laptop and a folder full of designs. I spent months rebuilding, not just my business but myself. Every tear became fuel. Every insult, motivation. While they were living their little love story, I was grinding in silence. People mocked me when I said I'd turn my sketches into a global brand. But a year later, my company, Lanier, became one of the fastest-growing labels online. Celebrities wore my designs. Investors called. Magazines featured me. And then one morning, I received an invitation. Clara and Ethan were getting married. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Perfect timing. Because that same week, I was being honored at an exclusive success gala, celebrating young entrepreneurs who built empires from nothing. And guess who the organizers allowed to bring plus ones? Me. So I made a list. And at the very top were 2 names. Ethan and Clara. I sent them a personal invite, handwritten, gold embossed. "Join me at my success party, the one you helped inspire." They had no idea what was coming. A year had passed since that night, the night I caught my fiancé Ethan and my best friend Clara in our bed. A year since my heart shattered and everything I believed in turned to dust. But pain, it changes you. It either breaks you or builds you. And I chose to build. I worked through nights so long that sunrise felt like a rumor. Every sketch, every design I drew carried a piece of my anger, my grief, my determination. And soon, Lanier, the brand born from my heartbreak, started to rise. Within months, we had celebrities wearing my clothes, magazines calling me the new face of empowerment, and investors fighting for a seat at my table. And the best part? I built it without anyone's help. Especially theirs. Then one morning, while sipping coffee in my new office overlooking the city skyline, an email popped up. Subject line, "You're invited, Ethan and Clara's wedding." I actually laughed. A deep, sarcastic, almost delighted laugh. They wanted to flaunt their happiness, their stolen love, in front of everyone? Fine. Let them. Because I had something better. That same week, I received another email, this one from the Entrepreneurial Excellence Committee. They were hosting a gala to honor young founders who turned their dreams into empires. And I wasn't just invited, I was the guest of honor. That's when the idea came to me. A revenge so poetic, it would sting for a lifetime. I wrote out an invitation by hand, gold embossed, elegant, signed personally by me. To Ethan and Clara, it said. Join me at my success gala. After all, none of this would have been possible without you. And I sent it. The night of the gala arrived. The Grand Aurora Hotel shimmered like a palace, chandeliers glimmering, violins playing softly, the scent of roses and luxury in the air. I wore a custom black silk gown, a design so breathtaking it made the photographers gasp. As I stepped onto the marble floor, heads turned. Flashes went off. Whispers rippled through the crowd. And then, they walked in. Ethan and Clara. He wore an ill-fitted tux, she a pale gold gown, and I nearly laughed because it was a cheap copy of one of my earlier collections. They stopped when they saw me. Clara's painted smile trembled. Ethan's confidence evaporated. I approached them, calm, radiant, unshaken. Clara. Ethan, I said. I'm so glad you came. I didn't think you'd show up. Ethan forced a grin. We wanted to congratulate you, Lena. You've done well for yourself. I tilted my head. Oh, I have. And to think, I owe some of it to the two of you. They didn't understand my tone, not yet. As the night went on, I mingled with investors and designers, photographers and press. Each time I spoke, I caught Clara watching from the corner, her expression twisting between guilt and envy. Ethan's hand kept tightening around his glass as people congratulated me, not him. And then it was time for my speech. The room darkened slightly, and a spotlight followed me as I walked to the stage. Applause filled the hall. I stood there, heart steady, smile warm, but inside, my fire was ready. Good evening, I began. When I started my company, I had nothing. Not money. Not connections. Not even self-confidence. All I had was pain. Pain from people I trusted the most. The crowd fell quiet. Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Clara's hand gripped his arm. I continued. But sometimes, pain becomes power. Betrayal becomes the blueprint for success. Because when you've lost everything, you realize you can rebuild anything. The room was silent, hanging on every word. I smiled faintly. Tonight, I don't just celebrate success. I celebrate resilience. And I want to thank those who taught me what strength truly means. They didn't believe in me. They broke me. But without them, there would be no Lanier. Every camera flash caught my eyes locking directly on Ethan and Clara. I didn't need to name them. Everyone could feel it. And they could, too. I raised my glass. So, to those who betrayed me, thank you. You made me unstoppable. The applause was thunderous. Ethan's face had turned red. Clara looked like she wanted to disappear. After the speech, I mingled again, surrounded by admirers and cameras. Every angle captured me glowing, radiant, and in several shots, you could see them in the background, small and uncomfortable. Later, as the night thinned, I found them near the exit. Clara tried to speak first. Lena, we didn't mean to. I interrupted softly, smiling. You did. And I'm glad you did. Ethan frowned. Glad? After everything? Oh, absolutely, I said, stepping closer. You two taught me more than any business mentor ever could. I leaned in, whispering. You taught me that silence is the loudest revenge. They said nothing. They just left, their smiles gone, their pride crushed, their eyes empty. The next morning, the media exploded. Headlines read, Designer Lena stuns at gala, dedicates speech to betrayal that sparked her empire. Paparazzi photos showed me radiant and triumphant, with Ethan and Clara blurred awkwardly in the background, caught mid-expression. That image went viral. Memes, articles, interviews, everyone talked about my story, my strength, my victory. And as for Ethan and Clara? Their wedding was quietly cancelled 2 weeks later. Rumors spread about fights, jealousy, blame. I didn't care to know the details. They were part of my past, and my past had already paid its debt. Because revenge isn't always about screaming or destroying. Sometimes, it's about walking past the people who broke you, and letting them realize you didn't just survive without them. You thrived. That night, I stood on my apartment balcony, city lights twinkling below, glass of champagne in hand. For the first time in years, I smiled, not from spite, but from peace. My heart was no longer broken. It was golden. And as I looked at my reflection in the glass, I whispered, "You see, Ethan, Clara, you both were my biggest mistake, but also my greatest motivation." I raised my glass to the stars. Here's to revenge, served beautifully.